Have you ever loved someone who left and knew you'd still be waiting? What happens when the pain stops and silence replaces the chaos to a manipulator? Your indifference isn't defeat. It's a quiet rebellion that shatters them. They always think they'll win. That's the twisted charm of a narcissist's illusion. They believe they own you, your thoughts, your feelings, your reactions. They think they can vanish, return, twist the knife deeper and you'll still bleed, still care, still try to prove your worth. But what happens when you stop bleeding? When your gaze changes from longing to distant? When the energy they fed off like a parasite disappears? That's when the panic sets in. That's when the mask slips. Because nothing destroys a narcissist more than your indifference. Not your anger, not your heartbreak, not your tears. They feed on those. Those emotions tell them they still hold the script. But your silence, your peace, that's war. Rewind for a moment. If you've ever been caught in a relationship with a narcissist, you know what emotional limbo feels like. Walking on eggshells, trying to prove your worth, being wrong even when you're right, blamed, shamed, gaslight, drained. You weren't loved, you were consumed. They didn't love you. They loved your attention, your admiration, your pain. You were a mirror for their ego, a character in their story where they're always the victim, the hero or the god. And here's the trap: you tried to fix them, understand them, show them love. You gave until you were empty, and just when you thought they'd appreciate your loyalty, they discarded you. Cold, robotic, and you broke. But then comes the moment of clarity. A switch flips. You stop caring, not out of spite, but from exhaustion, from wisdom, from finally realizing you were never the problem. They weren't looking for love. They were looking for supply. Now you're empty. But it's the kind of empty that feels clean. They notice fast. At first, they think it's a trick, a tactic. You're just playing hard to get. So they test you. A 2:03 a.m. text, a song on their story, a vague compliment, a breadcrumb. They're checking your pulse. Does the puppet still dance? But this time, you don't reply. Or if you do, it's ice cold. No spark, no reaction. That's when they feel it. The shift, like a vampire denied blood. They start to unravel. Because your silence, it's not absence, it's power. And this is only the beginning. Remember that powerful silence from before. When you didn't beg, didn't chase, didn't react. That moment was when the narcissist realized the game was over. They felt it deep down. They no longer had space in your mind. The character they once played in your life story had died. And narcissists, well, they don't take death lightly, especially when it's their own. Phase 1, rage in disguise. Their first response isn't always loud, it's subtle. Covert rage. They'll start a smear campaign. Tell others that you were the narcissist, that you were emotionally unstable, that they tried everything but you were too toxic. Why? Because they must win the narrative. Your indifference makes them irrelevant, and for a narcissist, irrelevance is annihilation. They must destroy your image to preserve their illusion. When that fails, here comes phase 2, hoovering, the siren song. Suddenly, they remember your birthday. Suddenly, they miss you. Suddenly, they're in therapy. They've changed. But it's all bait. They don't miss you, they miss control. They miss the chaos. They miss how your eyes lit up when they tossed you breadcrumbs and called it love. But if you've truly detached, those tricks don't work anymore. And now they're terrified, not of losing you, but of losing their influence over your emotions, over how others perceive them. That's the root of it. Narcissists don't fear losing people, they fear losing control. Phase 3, collapse and scramble. A narcissist without supply starts to rot. They scramble for new victims, new listeners, new mirrors. But no one replaces you. You had history. You used to care. You knew their weaknesses. And now you're their worst nightmare. The one who saw through the mask and walked away. Let me give you an example. I knew a man who dated a narcissist for years, loyal to a fault. She lied, cheated, manipulated, played every game in the book. He begged, he stayed, he suffered, and one day he stopped, blocked her, changed his number, never looked back. She spiraled. First came the love bombs, then the guilt trips, then the threats. When none of it worked, she started dating his friend just to provoke him. He didn't flinch. Years later, she still stalks his profile from fake accounts, still asks mutual friends about him, still tries to insert herself back into his story. But he's long gone. He became her unfinished sentence. And nothing haunts a narcissist more than silence they can't manipulate. Because once you realize that people's behavior says more about them than about you, you learn to let them go. Without closure, without explanation, because closure was never part of their plan. We saw the silent power of walking away. But here's what narcissists can't handle. When you slam the door shut completely, they never truly close doors. They leave them slightly ajar, just wide enough to crawl back through when it suits them. But when you are the one who shuts it firmly, finally not to hurt them, but to save yourself, that's the ending they never saw coming. And from that moment on, your indifference becomes your superpower. Let's be clear, indifference doesn't mean you never cared. It means you've outgrown the need to be hurt by them. You saw the pattern. You recognized the manipulation. You finally realized that real love, true love, shouldn't feel like survival. You started rebuilding your life quietly, in solitude. You focused on peace, on healing, on reclaiming your power. And something amazing happened. You fell in love with that power. Not the kind that controls others, but the kind that makes you whole again. You started to see your worth is non-negotiable. Your peace speaks louder than their chaos. Your silence roars louder than any screaming match. And the narcissist, they become a ghost one you no longer fear. The final lesson is this: if you've ever escaped a narcissist's grip and truly let go, then know this: you've done what most never will. You broke the trauma bond. You shattered the illusion. You reclaimed your narrative. That's rare. That's powerful. And if you're still in it, still unsure, still hurting, let their reaction to your silence be your fuel. Because the moment they realize you no longer care is the moment you win. Not for revenge, not for ego, but for freedom. And in that freedom, you don't just survive narcissistic abuse, you obliterate it. You become untouchable. And nothing terrifies a narcissist more than someone who no longer needs their poison to feel alive. Let them choke on the silence. You have better places to be. You don't heal to teach them a lesson. You heal because you're done letting them teach you pain.